Working? It is now. Okay. Hi, my name, first of all, thank you for inviting us here to explain everything about piano in just, well, 15 minutes before you can have a coffee break. My name is Jacobien Munt Beekhuis. I'm a lawyer at PIANOo, and I've been working for PIANOo since 2008 by now, so quite a long time. We are going to talk a bit about PIANOo as an organization as a whole, and then about the procurement of innovation and the competence center of with respect to the procurement of innovation, because you see with us that we started out as a general center. And even more, we started out more as a network organization than as a competence center. PIANOo, which is a funny name, but it's a very useful name because it kind of stays in your head, is an acronym for a professional and innovative procurement, in Dutch is an A, network for public purchasers, in Dutch overheidsopdrachtgevers. There's one thing you should be aware of. If we talk about procurement in the Netherlands, we tend to think about the process of procurement only, not about the definition of the contract, not about contract management. At first, and that's how PIANOo started as well, is aiming to have a good, legally compliant process of procuring something. In 2005, when we were established because there was a huge fraud in the Netherlands with respect to the construction sector. And as a result of a parliamentary inquiry, it was quite clear that local authorities had actually no clue on how to use the European rules professionally. They had their own set of procurement rules. Preferred local contractors mainly, and as that at national level was not really acceptable, PIANOo was established in order to exchange views on how to use the rules, what are the possibilities within the regulations to get the best contractor and the best contract. So we started out as a network organization aiming mainly at the procedures, what is allowed, aiming at compliance. As a result of the construction corruption, there was hardly any dialogue with the market. Nobody dared to talk to the market. We call it the Ice Age within the Netherlands, because actually even if I'm serious. If procurers were called, you laugh, but it was seriously almost the Ice Age. There was a huge gap between procurers and companies. If a company would call any contracting authority and said, well, hey, I want to discuss this or that, maybe I have invented something or whatever, sorry. They just put down the horn and said, I can't talk to you because it's not allowed by the rules. We are afraid of corruption. Okay. And try prevent judicial procedures. Well, after a few years, it was clear that that did not do the work completely. So we shifted more towards procurement as a process. And as of then, we paid more attention to the part of the organization that is responsible for who's the budget holder, who is the actually initiator of a contract. Usually the procurement officer is all the way at the end of the process, and the initiator is somewhere else within the organization. So we pay more attention to the rest of the organization and more attention to questions as what is possible. By then, lawyers were accepted within PIANOo to explain what is possible and sometimes what was not. We paid more attention to, and still do, value for money, and started creating information on how to create market knowledge, how to have dialogue with the market, how to consult the market, in order to know what companies are capable to do, how far their inventions were already. So our objectives are further professionalization of actually the whole organization, not only the procurers, how to get value for public money, exchange of knowledge, well, that of course is for a competence center one of the main goals, but support new and innovative developments, enhance the strategic use of public procurement, market knowledge and interaction, enhance e-procurement. We also have an electronic tendering system called TenderNet. And we gather and disseminate expertise, for instance, from our water board and our roads agency. And since 2009, there's more and more attention for responsible public procurement, bio-based, circular, procurement of innovation, social conditions, and the environmental criteria. We have, but most of the others have as well. We have a web portal. We have about 1,200 visitors per day. We have a weekly newsletter which is read not only by procurement officers, but also by lawyers, by companies, everyone who wants to know what's going on within public procurement in the Netherlands reads the newsletter. We have a congress every year. About 700 procurers come together to discuss what's new, 800. We answer questions, we produce guidelines, we have workshops, we have training, we have learning labs where procurers exchange their problems and help each other with inventing new ways to work with the procurement law. And we have expert practitioners groups which produce also workshops and guidelines and discuss about the specific subjects. We have a lot of publications. I'm sure that all the presentations will be sent, so I won't cite all the publications that we have made, and this is only a third, I think, a fraction of what we actually produce. But one of the nice ones is how to use the competitive dialogue, the dynamic purchase system, micro lots, which is also very, and how to use meat. How to organize procurement, collaborative procurement among municipalities, which is, well, I understand that Sweden is also working on that, and we all should increase the collaboration between the several contracting authorities. And then we get to our PPI program, and since 2017, yes. Baldwin is part of our PPI program, so he will explain what we're doing for that at PIANOo.
Well, thank you for the invitation by me as well. And I think it's quite obvious. I'm now starting to talk about the PPI program we're running. Everything Jacobien told you is we call it the basis of PIANOo. So that's our starting point for our PPA program. So all the things Jacobien mentioned and illustrated by your presentation so far is where we can work further on with specific PPI programs. And yes, we also target the whole organization by public procurement and innovations. And we really start to target especially on the 5 key roles, which is of course the management, the board of the organization, the internal client or project manager, of course the innovation manager, and of course last but not least, the procurement officer. And indirectly, we also target the market as a supplier. But you have to distinguish these 5 key roles. They all need to work together within this organization. And this is forward. This is, okay. Oh yeah, I already told about this, the roles for innovation. And yes, what we try to do is to increase the competences and skills of the 5 key roles of civil servants who are involved with innovation procurement. And that's why the networking is so really important. And I'm standing on this stage now, but I should be among you to talk to you like peer to peer. And that's what we do in practice. We need to have this contact with the people in the field. What are those questions they have? That's why we're working with a lot of workshops and peer-to-peer learnings and exchange practical examples out of the field. We illustrate them on our website and we organize workshops around it. And talking about the transnational cooperation, which the aim of this afternoon, I think, that's the only thing we do for that is stay in contact with our partners in the Netherlands. Of course, partners is not that big, so it's done by us with a few people we have, about 3 people working on this program. And that's the thing how we do, and we bring knowledge together. And besides these 5 key roles, of course, we're aiming at the front runners in our organization also to harvest the best examples they have, where which we can learn the more followers. How did they do that? And we try to make contacts in between these front runners and the followers to exchange this information they need among themselves. And that's what we facilitate as well. Jacobien already mentioned the PIANOo website. We have Innovatiekoffer, a web portal, which is actually our knowledge database with quite a lot of procedures specifically aimed for innovation procurement. It's very informative, and also a lot of private parties use this portal as well. So we're targeting only the public, 5 minutes, thank you, Fernando. We're targeting especially the public authorities, but this is an instrument which is used heavily also by private partners. We have especially a congress with around about 250 visitors yearly, and about 5 or 6 regional workshops a year. And yes, we also always focus on the tacit knowledge to exchange. And we have to mention as well that because we are with 3 people running this PPI program, we're working about 50% of the time on this program, we work together very closely with the green procurement program and environmental and circular criteria. That's about a group of 5 till 6 people. And of course, the international networking is also very important for us. And besides Procure to Innovate, we're active in the TAIEX peer-to-peer workshops and expert meetings. Well, at this very moment, our program is being evaluated. Unfortunately, I cannot say a lot about the results yet, but one thing we can say that I illustrated that we especially aiming the front runners in the field, and that we're also going to focus on the followers. That also means that our program will probably grow to more resources than we have now. And also mentioned as well that it's likely that we moving forward to a more transitional approach compared to like we're doing now. So I think that's most important parts of our program. Here you can find a lot of information. Jacobien and I mentioned innovatiekoffer, and of course the general website PIANOo.
Easy to read, all in Dutch.
Yes. And there is a small part in English as well on the main site. So, happily invited to read there. And happily to answer some questions if there are any.